Does Ruby 2 have the physical special split? Physical and special split? Please do the physical special split. Is there physical special split? Physical and special split. No physical special split? I think physical special split would make this a lot better. Physical special split. Physical. Will there be? Can you include the physical special split? Physical special split. Pokemon Ruby 2 will not feature the physical special split, and in this video I will explain why. Thank you to the following YouTube channel members for making this video possible. Pokemon Ruby 2 is a binary hack, not a decomp hack. For those of you who don't know the difference, a binary hack is where a hacker takes the original ROM file and modifies its contents by changing the hex code. This method of Pokemon hacking is over 2 decades old and has its limitations due to the 3rd generation Pokemon game engine and other technical reasons that won't allow heavy modifications that would render the game unstable. Decomp ROM hacking uses a decompiled source code of the original game and allows you to directly edit the source files that make up the game. This method of Pokemon ROM hacking is newer and allows the hacker to add much more deeper change to the core game mechanics and features with full control over how the game works. Binary hacking is much more beginner-friendly and has lots of excellent programs with user interfaces, such as HexManiac Advanced, which is what I use to create ROM hacks at a much quicker pace. Decomp hacking requires a more complex setup process and programming knowledge which I don't have, and I'm not interested in learning, because I've been using the old school binary hacking method on and off for over 2 decades and it's much more familiar to me. HexManiac Advanced is the only reason I've gotten back into ROM hacking, and because it's an all-in-one tool in which I can edit the maps, scripts, Pokemon, trainers, and more. Now there are plenty of patches I can use to implement the physical and special split into my Pokemon Emerald ROM, which is what Ruby 2 is based on. The reason I'm not adding them is because the whole game would need to be rebalanced with newer moves, and implementing hundreds of new moves is something I'm not interested in doing. Not to mention, many moves use effects of newer game mechanics, some of which are not possible in binary hacking. If my hack were based on Fire Red, I could have used Haven's unofficial build of the complete Fire Red upgrade, which adds all the Pokemon, moves, and mechanics up to the 8th generation. But since this is a Hoenn sequel, I wanted it to be based on Emerald so I can edit the region directly. In addition, if I did add the split and hundreds of newer moves, every Pokemon's movesets would also have to be changed, and it's something I'm simply not interested in doing. Pokemon Ruby 2 is not an enhancement hack that brings all those newer features into the game. My goal is to make a sequel hack or a what-if hack that brings a new story to the Hoenn region. I want this game to look like, feel like, and play like a 3rd generation game. So, I'm still adding Pokemon from later generations, but their movesets and abilities will use everything that exists in Gen 3. I'm only slightly rebalancing the stats of a few Pokemon to work better in the 3rd generation, Weavile being a good example. This also includes the starters, which in Ruby 2 are the Johto starters, who are overall pretty weak in Gen 3. Now, many of you have also requested tons of features other than the physical special split, such as following Pokemon, the Dex Nav system, randomizers, and other quality of life updates. Most of these features you've seen in other recent ROM hacks will not be in Ruby 2, because like I said before, it's a binary hack and not a decomp hack. Many of these features, like following Pokemon, are not straight up impossible to do in binary hacking, but it takes a lot more time because you have to implement everything individually, and it requires lots of technical skills that I don't have. While decomp hacking has many expansions that can be added to the source code. This being said, you won't be seeing following Pokemon, Dex Nav, randomizers, or any updated battle mechanics like Mega Evolution in Pokemon Ruby 2. However, Ruby 2 still features many quality of life updates which I've gone over in videos in the past, like an EXP All system, Repel reuse script, reusable TMs, and a whole lot more. I hope you guys are now more understanding as to why I'm not implementing the dozens of fancy features you guys have been requesting. ROM hacking is a long and tedious task and requires lots of time and skill. The work that goes into ROM hacking is a lot more than many of you understand. If it wasn't for HexManiac Advanced, the best binary hacking tool made by Haven, I would have never completed my previous ROM hack, Pokemon Emerald Mini, and wouldn't have made much progress on Ruby 2, and eventually Sapphire 2, which I plan on developing after. By the way, I might even make a Fire Red and Leaf Green Mini in the future. Alright, so now with all that being said, let's go over a little more of the updates in Pokemon Ruby 2. In my last video, I mentioned the launch of the beta will be happening soon, and I even created a forum in which hundreds of you have filled out to be a beta tester. I've been trying to get the beta released sooner, but I wanted a little more polish and stability before I release one, so I decided to delay it a little more. I appreciate everyone's excitement and those who have been really interested in helping me test, but please give me a little more time to work on some things to make a better testing experience. I'll give more updates in my Discord server as we go forward. In my last video, I also mentioned I wanted some help with custom music and sprite work, and many of you hopped into my Discord and provided lots of help. RWBY 2 now has a number of new soundtracks, thanks to Joey Zed, Duck Out of Luck, and Sayono Rion. Just take a listen to this new intro theme of the game. It's absolutely awesome, isn't it? We also have a new theme for your rival George in the overworld, and a custom battle theme, which just sounds amazing. There's also a few other themes being worked on in addition to these, and these soundtracks use all the original instruments from the game, so it feels authentic to the Hoenn region. On top of the new music, I've also been doing more polishing of the game and some mapping. Remember Altering Cave from Pokemon Emerald that was useless outside of Japan's exclusive e-reader event? Well, this cave is present in Pokemon Ruby 2 and now has a new path that connects both sides of Route 103, which was previously separated by the river. Altering Cave now puts a greater emphasis on its altering behavior, as now every time you enter the cave there's a randomized layout to go through. Each layout will have different wild Pokemon to encounter and feature some hidden items. I also wanted to do some map edits that make the Hoenn region really feel like it's changed over the last 10 years, and one area I did this in is the flower shop, which has an updated tile set to look a little different. There's lots of other little areas like this where I did the same thing to show the new region. Another thing I made some polishing progress on is the sprite work in the hack. Gym leaders and other characters have some newer sprites to show how they changed since the timeline of the original Ruby. Many of these sprites are modified versions of sprites made by Kyle Dove, who creates lots of awesome designs for the Pokemon Showdown website. We also have some new overworld sprites to reflect this, and it just adds another level of detail to the ROM hack. Magma Boss Maxie gets his costume from the beta of Ruby and Sapphire, which looks really cool with the cape. We also have some new trainer classes with new sprites as well. In addition to these new sprites and custom music, there's also been lots of work on bug fixes, scripting, and other small things to help the overall experience. Pokemon Ruby 2 has been a huge project to work on so far, and with all of its new features is becoming much more ambitious than I originally planned. So like I said before, please be patient and you'll really enjoy the full version. I hope you guys are also a bit more understanding as to why my ROM hack won't feature the physical special split, and other hack features like following Pokemon, randomizers, and other things like that. Thank you guys so much for all the support during the development of Pokemon Ruby 2, and I appreciate you watching this video, so I'll see you in the next one.